Hello and welcome to the Teacher's Corner podcast. My name is Miss Mems and I've got another guest with me today. My guest is called Anuoluwapo Michael-Ayeni. I met Anuoluwapo on Instagram. We share a strong passion for early years education and a commitment to supporting early years teachers. We are respecters and admirers of each other's work with similar passions. I am so excited to welcome Anuoluwapo to the Teacher's Corner podcast. Okay, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I would like to start with you introducing yourself. Please, can you tell us your name and what you do?
All right, my name is Anuoluwapo Michael-Ayeni. I am an early years educator and recently an elocutionist. So I have worked with children for about 11 years now, worked in the classroom, and just about 2-3 months ago, I stepped out of the classroom to go full-time into consulting. So now majorly, I work with schools, I work with teachers, organize trainings, and it has been an amazing journey. One thing I've realized that I love more than working with children myself is also working with teachers. So helping them to see how they can do more for the children, helping them to take that step, like, you know, how everyone is wondering, what do I need to do? What's the process? What are the methods I need to use? How can I connect with the children? So having to have that one-to-one session with them where I'm taking them through the process of connecting with your learners, helping them to identify their strengths and then identifying their weaknesses as well and seeing how you can help them to become better versions. And then academically, holistically, in all areas, how can you support the children? So that has been an amazing journey for me, seeing that aside working with children, here is something else that I also love to do. So somehow it has been great. It has been great, I must say.
That's so beautiful. And how did you get involved in early years in the first place? How did you become it? Was that your first choice of profession or did you stumble on it?
So I'll tell you yes and no, because I realized that even from when I was young, I always wanted to be a teacher. So I would always tell my older siblings, I would always tell my friends, I would tell everyone I want to be a teacher. I just loved teaching others. So even while I was small and we had to do role play, it was always me pretending to be a teacher, holding up my pencil, holding up a cane and pretending to like teach my peers. That was something I enjoyed to do. So I'll tell everyone I want to be a teacher. And then some people would laugh and say, why would you want to be a teacher? Like teachers are underpaid and teachers are not appreciated. Why would you want to be a teacher? So I heard a lot of that. And then along the line, I said, okay, you know what? I don't think I want to be a teacher anymore. I think I want to be a doctor. So I had to think of one profession that I felt like people valued a lot more. And so I said I want to be a doctor. And so along the line, I realized I can't even stand the sight of blood. Why on earth do I say, why am I saying I want to be a teacher? So aside that, I said, okay, you know what? I want to be a broadcaster. I enjoy talking to people, maybe hosting shows, interviewing, red carpets and all the things like that. And I said, I want to be a broadcaster. And then along the line, somehow I graduated from secondary school. And of all the results that I wouldn't make, it was literature. It was literature, and I kept saying, and I know that I needed literature to study broadcasting, and it was like, okay, you just need to do something else. Like, what else can you do? And my mom said, okay, you have all the grades. Why don't you just go to a college of education? Pending the time you're able to retake your WAEC and all of that. And I thought, okay, you know what? Let's go to the College of Education. And I stepped into the College of Education. I was like, no, I'm not stepping out. I'm staying here. I'm staying right here. It was just as if they were like the whole, God was just having a better plan for me. I had that plan of going into broadcasting just because people were having a lot of negative comments about teaching. But I found myself in the College of Education. I said, I'm staying right here. This is where I belong. So I had to study English and political science at the NCE level. That's like an ND, like a diploma in education that teachers have here in Nigeria. And then I went on to take my bachelor's degree. And I just thought, you know what? One course I enjoyed a lot more was primary and pre-primary education. So that's like early childhood education. So instead of going into English language again, let me do something different. And that was how I ended up studying early childhood education. And I have fallen in love. I have fallen in love with early childhood education, and I've been practicing right after I finished my degree.
Wow. I'm very curious, right? So knowing the financial, knowing that teachers are not paid as well as other professions, I wondered, in Nigeria, is it the same? Are Nigerian teachers better paid, or is it similar where, the pay for teachers is not great?
It is very much the same. I've come to realize that everywhere, every platform I join, teachers in Nigeria are complaining, and then we're thinking, it's probably better in the UK. And I see teachers in the UK say, they think, okay, maybe US. And it is very much the same. Most teachers in Nigeria are underpaid. Now, even if you find maybe some international schools that try to pay their teachers well, that's where you find the struggle with the work-life balance, because it's kind of like a thing of paying you well enough, you have to get the job done. So there's like a lot of pressure as to how much work you have to get done from time to time. But I would say that 70 to 80% of teachers are underpaid. Even a number of times when you find teachers who are earning a good pay, it's always like they're trying to do multiple things. They're trying to work as teachers, and then they have tutoring, or they are maybe consulting for one person, or they're maybe creating resources. There's always that extra work that you have to do to make a good living.
Yeah.
A lot of teachers here in Nigeria are underpaid. I think it is even worse in the public schools. Maybe some private schools have it better. I think it is even worse in public schools.
And so I think same here as well. Like if you want to make extra, you have to do extra things. Like here we have to nanny. You have teachers doing nannying, babysitting. Teachers who, like early years teachers who have holidays, work during the holidays to make extra money. So people say, but you have all these holidays, but really you need to work during the holidays. Yeah, you have to work during the holidays to make the money to enjoy the holidays. So yeah. What would you advise? Like, you've been in that situation where you've worked in early years, but you've always had like lots. I've seen your social media is amazing. What you do online, your website is fantastic. Can I just say, all the services that you offer? I know you do it full time now, but before you were doing it full time, you were also doing it alongside your work. So what would you advise teachers in Nigeria, especially? What kind of things can they do? What ideas would you give them to become creative so that they can also make some extra money?
Okay, so I would say to make extra money as a teacher in Nigeria, you have to have multiple sources of income. So it's either you're working in the school and then you have after school tutoring, or you have resources that you sell. I know a number of teachers who do that now. So they sell resources. Some are creative resources. So they create digital resources and then they have to put it on like Teachers Pay Teachers or Seller somewhere, or maybe creating video courses. So we now have those platforms where you can always showcase some of the things that you do relating to education. And then we have those who are doing other things that are not even related to education. So maybe like hairdressing, maybe like braids and all of those things, maybe like knitting, something that you know that you can also put yourself out there. Aside education, you have this other business that you run. So that's what we have now. And we have platforms that help you to showcase these other skills that you might have. So I would encourage a teacher here in Nigeria, aside what you're earning in school, we know that we're not there yet. We know that we want them to pay us more, but we don't have it yet. So I would say, get a skill, have one skill that you can use to showcase yourself to people. If it is tutoring, a number of children here in Nigeria, parents usually require tutors for their children. So after school tutoring, so you can either have it online now. We thank God for COVID helped us to realize that children can learn via Zoom as well. So no matter how young they are, you can always find ways to teach them. And the good part is, another thing that has also helped is we had parents who had to leave the country. So parents in UK, parents in US, parents in Canada, and then they always require tutors as well. So sometimes they require Nigerian tutors who can help them to teach the same concept that the children would have been learning if they were here in Nigeria. So that's another thing. Online tutoring for children who are in the diaspora, although the time difference makes it a bit of a challenge for some people, but we have people who are doing it irrespective. You know that you have to have the classes late at night and then still find time to get some rest and head on to work the next day. So whatever it is that you think you're able to do best, tutoring, consulting, maybe, or mentorship for teachers, for your peers, can be online, can be in person. Maybe you go to their schools during the holidays. I think these are opportunities that teachers can take advantage of to also ensure that they're earning an extra income.
Thank you so much for that. Another question I had was, personally for you, what do you enjoy when you were in the classroom? What did you enjoy about being in the classroom, and what were some things that you didn't enjoy as much?
Okay, so I think what I enjoyed most. What I enjoyed most would be teaching the children. So planning the lesson, setting up my class was one of my favorite things. But getting to now implement, that was like an amazing thing for me. So I enjoyed seeing the different activities that we've set up, seeing the children in the different corners, working with a group of children, having my TA working with another group of children, and seeing how the children are moving on from one corner to another. It was always like a joy for me, seeing that the planning is paying off. Like the time you spent planning is not a waste, because the children are now getting to enjoy all that you have put together. And then you see that it's not just an enjoyable moment for them, they're also learning. So to them, they are having fun, but you're seeing how they're learning, they're able to talk to their peers, and they're using the vocabulary that you have introduced, and they see that you're hearing them repeat those words. And you see a child who's able to even tell his or her peer that, oh, no, that's not what you need to do. This is what you need to do. That gives me the joy that, yes, my work is done. My work is done. They understand now. They're talking about it. Now I'm seeing them put it into practice with one another. All I can just do is stand and observe and just take my notes, knowing that, yes, this work has been done. So that was always the best part for me.
And then what did you not enjoy as much?
It's never the children, it's always the adults. So I think what I would say enjoy as much would be the too many meetings, too many admin interference. Sometimes you have that feeling as to maybe you should step into the classroom for a week so you have an idea what it feels like, and you're not just standing there judging me.
Yeah,
that's always what it's been. So I think I would say what I did not enjoy as much would be the many interference from admin, the complaints, and then maybe sometimes I think I wouldn't say parents. I know some teachers would say parents, because sometimes the parents asking for too much. So I think I'm one of those few teachers who's fortunate to get along with most parents, not all, but I would say most. But what I really enjoy about being in the classroom, and I think that was one of the things that made me make that decision to step out, was too many interference from the admin staff who felt like they had so many things to say, and it felt like, sometimes I felt like you're not even taking time to appreciate the effort I'm putting in. You're not even taking time to commend the good work, but you're spending so much time talking about the negative aspect. Mm-hmm. So if only, how with children, we give feedback and you're saying, okay, the sandwich approach, start with a positive and then the negative and then end with a positive. And then as teachers, we have to do that. But then you come in and then you're just all about the negative. And I'm wondering, what's going on? You've always trained us to do positive, negative, positive. Where is my net positive? Is it that I haven't done anything good and all you can see is bad? So I think those were the issues, because you get to that point where you're like, you know what, I'm stepping out, get somebody else to do this.
And I love that now
So I think
you're on the other side. So now you are now advising schools. So you are able to, because you've been in the classroom, when you're giving advice to the school owners, these are the things you can now tell them. Okay, when you were in the classroom, how did you manage to stay motivated, and what advice would you give to other teachers to help them stay motivated?
I think one way I managed to stay motivated is ensuring that I had a great relationship with my team. So I would always make sure that the people in my classroom were all on the same page. I think most of the time we did get along, ensuring that everybody knows what is expected. So we'd always have that sit down as to find out what are the issues, what can we do together. So, we were always there to make each other happy. So even when we're hearing something else from outside the classroom, we're there to come together and say, you know what, let's just forget about what's going on. What can we do? So having that great relationship with the people inside my classroom, that's one of the things that helped me to stay motivated. And I think another thing is always, when I think about, I like to write. I write a lot. So a number of times, right now I have journals I kept from 2-3 years ago, always putting down my learner's progress. So I'll always write from day 1, this is how this child did, day 2, day 3. So I'll always have those notes that I'm keeping to see how is each child making progress. So sometimes I'll just go back and reflect on, okay, term 1, this is where we were, term 2, this is where we are, term 3, this is how far we have come. And so that always gave me that joy as to I'm doing something great. If these children are making this much progress, then I'm not going to think about what is happening outside my classroom. I'm going to keep focusing on moving my learners from point A to point B and to point C. Sometimes, you're thinking of moving a child from A to F right ahead. But for me, progress is that slow growth. No matter how slow it is, as much as there is a form of growth happening, I'm happy about it. And I'm saying, okay, what can we do to just move from B to C? Slow and steady. So I think that the children's progress and the relationship I had with people in my team, I would say those are the 2 things that kept me really motivated.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And what professional development is available for Nigerian teachers? So I know that you talked a little bit about like the diploma and the College of Education and stuff like that. So after a teacher has received her teacher's qualification and she starts teaching in schools, what else can she do to continue to develop herself or himself?
Okay, I'll pick various CPDs that they can take. We have online platforms. We now have a number of consults that are coming up with different programs that teachers can take. We have different people now having understanding that, okay, teachers need to constantly learn. So we're organizing trainings from time to time. I organize a few trainings myself, and I also ensure that I take training. So I'm also able to go back and say, okay, this is what I have also learned. This is what you can also learn from that. So there are a number of CPDs. We have a number of online platforms now. We have College of Education who are organizing trainees, who are organizing diploma. Even the universities now are now organizing courses like diplomas that teachers can take. So we can always have teachers take advantage of that as much as possible. Now there's one particular school of education now that they are also out there making opportunities available for teachers to take courses. So I think that's the HISA School of Education. They are fantastic. So teacher development programs, from time to time, they organize and put them out there. So we have a number of people now understanding that teachers need to constantly learn. And so they're putting out online courses. I know you have a number on your website, number of courses on your website as well. So we have people who now understand that teachers need to constantly learn. So even if it's on Stella, they're able to put out courses that teachers can go out and learn. So yes, there are various opportunities. I can go on and on.
Okay, can you tell us, because I know you do a lot, Can you tell us a bit about what you do so that people who want to get into this profession, people who need support in the profession, they can reach out? What are the different things that you do to support teachers and schools?
Okay, so presently I consult for schools. I have like a list of opportunities or options of services that schools can ask me to come in and consult for. So some include trainings, mentorship for teachers, and then certain targets, observations, and everything. So depending on whatever option they want, once they reach out to me and say, oh, I'd like to consult, I give them those options and then they choose which one. That's usually with the school leaders. But aside that, I also offer mentorship for teachers. So if you're a teacher, early years teachers particularly, if you're a teacher who feels like, oh, there are a number of things that you want to improve on, a number of skills that you want to gain. So I have this advanced mentorship for early years practitioners, which has a lineup of courses that we will take. So from classroom management to understanding the EYFS framework, to understanding different phonics program, to even technological tools to help them to become better in working with their children. So different topics that we'll discuss on. So we can have this mentorship either through a one-to-one mentorship or a small group mentorship. So 3, 4, 5 teachers can come together to have the small group mentorship. So we have the mentorship. And then I also organize trainings. So I organize trainings quarterly. So I have 4 trainings in a year. And then usually I'll put up the flyers ranging from phonics to EYFS bootcamp to an early years in-person program, which is the Early Years Teachers Connect, where we all get to come together for a physical meeting and talk about different things that we can do to improve the early years education, the quality of the early years education in our different places, in our different settings. So I think that's everything that I do.
Lovely. So my last question, I've always been very intrigued about elocution for you. How did you get onto it? And I love it. I love your elocution video. I think they're very needed. How did you get onto that? Why elocution?
Okay, so initially I mentioned that when I got into the College of Education, I studied English language and political science. English language was the major. For me, political science was just, you need to add another subject. So I just thought, okay, you know what, let's just do political science. If you ask me any question now, I can't even recall. But English language was a major for me. And that helped me to realize how I loved oral English. So in secondary school, I never really paid attention to it. But I know that from primary school through secondary school, I had friends, I had teachers who would say, oh, I love how you speak. And I just thought, okay, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just talking. So that was how it started. So getting into the College of Education to study English, I now started to understand the phonetic symbols. I tried to understand how to correctly pronounce each sound. So that started that helped to build up my interest in learning a bit more. So I now became more conscious of how I was pronouncing my words, but I never really put any thought into teaching people to do that. It was just me now knowing that, okay, this is how I pronounce my words, this is how we transcribe. So all of those things I started to learn. And then I think in 2020, I met Coach Q. She's an amazing elocutionist. She's very good with it. And then I met her and I thought, okay, you know what? I should learn more from this person. And the moment I stepped into that classroom, it was an online classroom. The moment I stepped in, she said, you shouldn't just come here to learn how to speak well. You already speak well. You should be thinking about teaching other people. And then, I said, you know what? Not now. Let me just learn for myself. I just wanted to upgrade my own skill. I felt like, okay, I'm losing touch. So let me just come here and improve. And by the time she was done, I felt like, no, I don't just want this knowledge to go to waste. Let me keep learning. So since that time, I kept saying, okay, I'll keep learning, improving myself to get to that point where I can now start to teach other people. But, procrastination, I kept thinking, I'll do it next year. I'll do it next year. I'll do it next year, up until 2024, when a particular friend of mine started to say, you know what, I need you to teach my children to speak well. I need you to, and I just kept thinking, how am I going to teach you? I haven't really put down the steps I have just learned for myself, but I haven't really put it down. So at that time, I just started to put it down. You know what? Let's just start from somewhere. And I was glad I did. I started to put everything down. And then I went back to Coach Q to take another course. So this time around, I didn't just take the Eloquent Teacher course. I took a business of elocution. So that helped me to understand how to start a business as an elocutionist, what are the different steps, how to create the curriculum, how to write the proposal, everything that I needed to know. So then I had even started before going back. So it also just helped me to now put a structure to it. And I'm glad I did. Wow. So it's not just early years for me now, it's now elocution as a part of what I do.
Oh, thank you so much. You are doing amazing work. Finally, can you give some words of advice? Anything you'd like to say to our listeners, our teacher listeners?
Okay, so I would say one thing I always say is trust the process. You find yourself in different places and you might think that, okay, I'm better off being somewhere else. You see, that place where you are, there's one skill that you would learn from there that if you had not been there, you would not have learned. So I'm always grateful for my journey. Every step, everywhere I work, there's always something I learned that at the end of the day, I look back and I'm like, I'm thankful I ended up in this place before the next place. So always, I would say, trust the process. Keep learning, keep growing. Never feel like you've learned everything. Right now, I have books on my table. And I'm always trying to find time to read the next book, and I feel like I don't even have the time. But keep learning. We just have to always try to find the time to learn. And there is always that knowledge that you have that some people are still paying extra money to gain. So when you have it, don't hide it. Let everyone know that I have this knowledge, and in that small space that you find yourself, you're able to make an impact that would last long on the people. So trust the process, keep learning, and keep shining wherever you find yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. This was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad that you invited me to do this with you. So thank you so much.
Okay, bye to the people. Thank you for listening. If you got to this point, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more episodes. Until next time, spread love, spread positivity, and be inspired.